Hey, everybody. Happy Election Day. It's finally here. Joined with me here tonight is Julie Fanza. She is one of our board members for Stronger NC. And we thought, as you guys were getting off work today, we would maybe give you just a little bit of information about where we stand so far in terms of voter turnout. So thanks for joining us, Julie.
I'm glad to be here.
So we were talking the other day, and I was looking at historical numbers on the national side and found that it had really been a pretty long time since we had hit anywhere near 60 or 70% voter turnout on the national side. It's actually been since 1964. And you were telling me that we are traditionally much higher in North Carolina. So will you tell us a little bit about where we are in terms of voter turnout historically, just in our state?
Sure. So historically, what we've done close to 70% in each of the last three elections. So in 2008, we were actually at about 70%. 2012, we were at 68%. And 2016, we were at 69%. So historically, we've been way above the national average with that.
So North Carolina leading the way as usual.
Yes.
We like to think so anyway. So we actually have really, really high voter turnout so far this year. So when we talk about national averages and around 60%, that's absolutely amazing for turnout. But here it is, not even election day yet. And what are we looking at on election eve?
So on election eve, so some context too. In 2016, the total vote, early voting and on election day, was about 4.7 million, closer to 4.8 million. But either way, that was about the number. Right now, we're at 4.5 million as of this evening. We are at 95.9% of the total 2016 vote before election day. And of registered voters, and this includes all the new registered voters that registered during one-stop early voting, we're at 62.1% of all registered voters in North Carolina have already cast a ballot before election day.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is. They've talked about nationally breaking records and that sort of thing, and we really are. We have 950,000 absentee ballots or mailed-in absentee ballots already in. We have fewer than 140,000 absentee ballot requests that have not voted yet in some way, shape, or form. So, and that's out of 1.4 million requests. So we have a huge turnout.
So I have a goal for us, which is kind of an arbitrary goal, but it's just because 20 years ago I had read about European turnout, and I think the highest I had seen at the time was about 78%. I think it's gone to low 80s in some places, but really, really hoping for 78%. I thought that would be the biggest, the greatest stretch goal we could possibly do here in North Carolina. What's your prediction? Are we going to come anywhere near close to it?
Well, but the caveat that predictions are kind of meaningless this year just because we have zero historical basis for anything.
Well, since 2016, actually, we take all predictions with a grain of salt.
True, seriously. If we weren't already talking about that, then on top of that, the pandemic and the changes in patterns and everything else.
Yeah.
So the State Board of Elections has said that they think that approximately 80% of the votes are going to come in before Election Day and 20% on Election Day. Or 20% would be in person on Election Day versus mail-in absentee ballots and one-stop early voting. And for some context, in 2016, about 2/3, about 66% of the total votes came in one-stop early voting, or absentee. So we're already way above that. Mm-hmm. But if that 80%, 20% holds, based on the numbers that we've got now, if we have 20% more voters, we will get to 77.6% of the electorate will vote. That's 78%.
Yeah. So maybe I should aim higher next year, but
let's get into reality. So yeah, aim real high.
We'll see how this goes. But listen, I know a lot of folks are getting off work. They're starting to look at preliminary results. We know it's going to be a long night, and it could be a long couple of weeks. But I think the thing is, we just wanted to make sure we were sharing some of this information, everything that everyone connected to Stronger NC has done, the get out the vote efforts, registering new voters, working on campaigns. It's worked. it's already reflected in the numbers, and that's before election day numbers come in. So we just wanted to say a really huge thank you to all of the community that supported us so far. And we hope you have a really good night, right? It's going to be tough. Feel free to post in our Facebook Teams room. We'll be on. Share your comments, share your joy, your stress, any of those things. We're all in this together. Julie, are there any other numbers or things that we should be looking at as we head into this evening?
Nothing that I can think of off the top of my head. Just the fact that we've got only about 140,000 outstanding absentee ballots. That means that we're going to have a huge portion of our votes already in on election night. I believe the Board of Elections was talking about they believed it would be 97% of the votes counted on election night. We may even have more than that, depending on what kind of turnout we have and how many more come in. So if it's very close, it's going to be, it's something we may have to wait a few days for. But if it's not, then we may know pretty early on. So I'm going to hope it's not close and that we have an idea. But, I think the thing is, too, for all the rhetoric about, it's going to take so long and everything else, we've been there before every year. It's not necessarily usually with a presidential election, but that's not out of our history either. So even if this takes a while, this is not unprecedented. And so we've done it before and we will survive it if we have to do it again.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. It's not unusual. It can take, 3 weeks sometimes to certify outcomes. So it's not unusual. We can do our best not to panic. But she started talking about the future, and let's pause there for a quick second before we wrap up. What's next, do you think, after Election Day?
Well, I think, for us with Stronger NC, we've still got work to do, whatever the outcome is. We've made some tremendous progress in the last 4 years, but we still have so much more work to do. We have to work to make sure that we continue to have fair elections, that gerrymandering does not become something that is now okay just because, if the Democrats do win a majority in the House and Senate, we have to make sure that just because that they won does not mean all of a sudden gerrymandering is okay.
Yep.
There's still so much inequity we've got to address and work on. So whether or not we elect Biden or take the House or Senate nationally or take the House or Senate in the state, either way, we've got work to do. So we're not going anywhere. We may have to step back and regroup for a little bit, depending on the outcome, but we're still going to be here, and we hope everybody else will be here with us too, because we've made such great progress. We certainly haven't done it alone, and we will certainly need everyone's help to do this going forward.
Yeah, that's the most amazing thing to me is just how many friendships have been made over the last 4 years, really through doing the work together. I know tons of people are out there working polls. I've heard stories, multiple stories this week of people I personally know who are able to help somebody vote who had been turned away. And we're able to work through provisional ballots or help them one day register. And I mean, those things are very real, right? And we're making those changes every day and making friends as we're doing it. So hope you'll all be back with us. And if you have any questions on the numbers, we'll try to keep an eye on the room tomorrow. So feel free to post away, and happy Election Day, everyone.